are you? It's Ebony. If you're new to my channel, welcome, and if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm gonna start off with a Hoya update. I've definitely gotten a lot more Hoyas in the past year, and a couple of them have a little bit of issues. I spent a couple of months fixing several of them that had root rot. So that was a little bit frustrating and a little bit stressful just because the cost has gone up so much. At this point, I'm done purchasing Hoyas and I'm more focused on just getting to know the plants that I hate and just enjoy them. So I'm going to start off with my first big Hoya purchase, which is this greenhouse here. And I say big not because it's expensive, but I have wanted a greenhouse for the longest time, and now I finally have one. I've been using this greenhouse for a lot of my smaller Hoyas because I give it extra light, and also I can kind of ratchet up the humidity by using things like this plastic cup with just water in it, and they seem to be responding. So this is a Hoya Caudata Sumatra, I believe. This one, it had this growth point when I first purchased it. It does have a little bit of growth on it, but it's not anything major. But I do see several points where the leaves will be growing soon. And I do think that it is just a very unique looking plant. So he can go back in his little house. Okay, the next one. This is a Hoya Kerrii, and this plant actually I received for free as a cutting in another order that I purchased, and I couldn't believe that the person actually sent me a Hoya as like a free cutting. But this one I believe is only going to be this one leaf. I don't think that it's going to grow another leaf, which is fine because I was actually thinking that I wanted to get one of the ones that was just one leaf, that it would be cute, and then I was able to get it, so that's pretty exciting. Okay, this plant right here is a Hoya Finlaysonii, and this one has a couple of new growth points. You can see a new leaf right here. There's another point coming out here. This one arrived in kind of decent condition. I somehow remember all of the Hoyas that I purchased having root rot and needing to cut off all of the roots and start over. And for most of them, I did use rooting hormone. I have them in this little plastic container that you can see in my plant supplies video. And then I have them in a very light, airy mixture with cocoa coir and pumice. And there's some soil down at the bottom, but and there's also drainage at the bottom as well, and drainage on the side. And I just water them as needed. But this one is really hard and the leaves are quite large, so I don't have to water it often. Buthanica, I think. I have to check the name because it's escaped my mind at the moment. But this is a really beautiful plant, and I love the stressing on the leaves. I've been able to maintain that. I've had this plant for several months now. And I just think it's unique. It's beautiful. Also, it lowers my stress level that I'm able to still see the roots, so I can make sure that there's not any root rot taking place. In one of my previous videos, then you know that quite a while ago I purchased a Hoya Carnosa Compacta, and I have been struggling for the past like 3 years to have one that is healthy and that is thriving. So out of desperation, or I don't know what, I decided I would give it one last shot, and I bought a really full Hoya Carnosa Compacta. The plant looked okay, the roots looked okay, but what I quickly realized is that this plant came with root rot, and so I decided that the only way that I could keep this plant and keep it healthy and thriving is if I broke it up. So over here you can get a somewhat closer look. I now have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these, as well as a small pot rooting in sphagnum moss that I'm going to give to okay, hi, I'm back. This is a rescue. I actually purchased this plant, and it was born or acquired, I guess, grown in 2014. So it's a bit older, and it was in need of a little TLC when I received it. But as you guys know, based off of my big boy Hoya Carnosa, I love getting plants that are a bit older and more established. And what I did was I bought this little trellis for him. I'll try to leave links for these pots. All of these pots I got on Amazon, all the white ones. And I've been giving him, I just gave him some love, cleaned his leaves, put him in a pot that was sufficient size for his roots, but also I had to find a trellis that was big and strong enough to really hold him up. Okay, this is one of my last chance Hoyas, and it's this Hoya Obovata. This one went through some stuff. If you can see from the leaves, it's I bought one that was kind of large, but when it came, it had very bad root rot, and so I ended up taking it apart basically piece by piece and cutting off all the bad roots. I think 1 or 2 sections were healthy, but other than that, they were all rotted, and I ended up losing a couple of sections just from them not rooting quickly enough. And I did try to root them in sphagnum moss, and I also tried to root them on my heated mat, my plant mat in my little greenhouse, on the heated mat, and that kind of just rotted everything. So this was like a long time coming, and then finally it has stabilized now. Well, I've had it before, or for quite a while, most of it, and this is my Hoya Chelsea, and this one also got root rot. It wasn't anybody's fault but mine, and I was very stressed out because I really like this plant, and it still looks like there's a little bit of watering issues just because of this piece. See how it's kind of like yellowish? So I'm probably gonna have to pull this out, and I'm looking at the soil. I think that this soil is retaining a little bit too much moisture, so I probably will end up repotting that when I'm done. And this is the Hoya Peniche treat, and this plant was on my last update, and back when I purchased it, I'll show a picture. It did have a lot less growth. This plant is definitely a slow grower. It did get root rot. I'm pretty sure basically every Hoya that I had got root rot. Now it is in a much more airy mixture, and I did just water it a couple of days ago, and it's doing fine. Oopsie. It doesn't, well, when it came, there was one leaf that was black, and I decided I was not going to stress it enough to do that. But when it does grow in, the stems are essentially black, all of the new Australis. I did order a part of this on Etsy, and then I went to Home Depot one day, and they were actually selling it, so I bought another one, and I decided to just make my pot as full as I could, which, you know, this plant is really easy to take care of. It never complains. It doesn't need that much light. It still grows a lot. As you can see, there's always some new growth somewhere. Okay, and then I forgot about a couple of these little ones. So this one is a Hoya Minibelle. This one I was going to get rid of. It's a newer purchase, and the reason I bought it is because my Hoya Gracilis kept dying, and when I first had that plant, I had it for months with no problem at all, and then all of a sudden I just could not keep them alive. Even I probably bought it like 3 times. So I decided to try the Hoya Minibelle because it has similar leaves, only this one has splashing, and I wanted to just see what it would do. Is it going to die? Am I going to be upset? What's going to happen? And this plant is doing really well. This is a Hoya Carnosa Queen. This is I bought this plant full, and it did have root rot. I cut it up. I did the whole thing, the whole spiel, to try to save this root rot Hoya. And for the most part, I was able to save it all. But here, this has been hiding somewhere in this pot. This is a Hoya Carnosa Crimson Princess. This is the only one that I have, and I can't remember if he came happy or sad, but he seems to be doing well now. So it's very similar to the Hoya Carnosa Queen, of course, but the variegation is on the inside, and this one has a high amount of variegation. This is very pink. It's super splashy. It has very little green leaves. I don't think I've seen, well, it seems like this one down here might be green. I'm not sure. But it has a really high amount of variegation. It's a really full plant, and I think I purchased it sometime during the fall, and it's one of the ones that I said, this is my last chance. So if it cuts up or dies or whatever, that's it for this. And I guess it hurt me because this one is doing a good job. I'm just looking, I'm sorry guys, I'm just looking to see if I put the slow release fertilizer in here, and I didn't. So I will have to go back and do that. I will go back and do that, but he seems to be pushing out a lot of new growth without it. And I do think that a good part of that is the soil that I have, and also having him somewhere where he gets a lot of light. This is my Hoya Chang Island. This plant I showed you a year ago on my Hoya haul, the one where I said that I had new rare Hoyas, and this is rare. I still haven't seen a lot of videos about it. I can't find a lot of information about it. This one is a slow grower for me, also because it got root rot somehow. So now using a very light, airy mixture. I do see his little roots. I can see some of his little roots in there. Is a Hoya Rotundiflora. Okay, so one of them, this is my old one that I've had for quite a while. The one that's all wrinkled and looks half dead. And then this is the new one that I purchased because I was pretty sure that this one would die, but he's still alive. And as you can see, this new one has a lot of growth and he's doing really well. Bella. I had one that was a lot more full than this, and I actually had one that was a good amount. I had several stems in here actually. I just watered this earlier today because all the leaves were very soft. But yeah, I haven't really gotten used to it. I don't know. He's not that happy with me, which is why I have this one thing in this whole big cup. But it at one point was a full cup, and now it's this is a Hoya. Okay, I can't remember the name of this. I cannot remember the name of this. Yeah, this was here the last time I did my tour. I didn't kill all of my Hoyas, definitely. This is the Hoya Australis Lisa. And the last time that I did the tour, I had just gotten him or her, and it was in transit shock, so it dropped so many leaves and I couldn't figure out what to do. And finally I set it on my heat mat, and when it was on the heat mat, it started to this is the last Hoya that I have, and this is my Hoya Pubicalyx. This was one that was given to me for free from Ron, the awesome seller on Etsy, who sold me my big boy Hoya Carnosa. And he actually included this plant, and I think this plant was grown around 1988. It was one long stem, and if you can guess, you know what happened. It got root rot. So what I noticed is that the plant grows really quickly all year. It stopped growing, and then one or two of the leaves started looking a bit shriveled, and that's when I pulled it out of the soil. I saw that it did have root rot, and I decided to root it, to cut off all the dead roots and root it again. And when I did that, I ended up cutting this into multiple stems so that the whole plant wasn't on just one root system. But the plant just grows so quickly. I mean, look at that. Just new growth, new growth, new growth all over the place. And I haven't even fertilized it, which I need to. I need to give it some slow release fertilizer. But regardless, it's been doing really well and growing. It's just a gorgeous plant. A quick update on my big boy Hoya Carnosa. He's doing okay. He's doing okay. He's still alive. He looks a little bit different, so when I do an update on that at another time, he will look a little bit different, just because of one or two issues that I had with him. But he's okay. I got him here, and we're taking care of him and taking care of each other. All right, guys, well, thank you for checking on my channel, and I hope that you all stay safe. Bye.